Palestinian and Aramaic Targum. We are reading in the book of Leviticus to a portion Shemini, and we're in Leviticus chapter 11. And the Lord spake with Moshe and with Aaron, bidding them, and the sons of Aaron admonish the children of Israel to taste their food in purity, and to separate on account of uncleanliness 18 kinds of food to be rejected. Speak with the children of Israel, saying, These are the animals which are fit to eat for food of every beast which is upon the earth. Whatsoever divideth the hoof, and is cloven-footed, and that which hath horns, bringing up the cud among the beasts, that you may eat. But you may not eat of the kinds that only bring up the cud, or of them which only divide the hoof, because they are born of the unclean. The camel, because he bringeth up the cud, but divided not the hoof, he is unclean to you. And the coney, because he bringeth up the cud, but divideth not the hoof, is unclean to you. And the hare, because he bringeth up the cud, but divideth not the hoof, is unclean to you. The swine, the pig, because he divideth the hoof, and is cloven-footed, but cheweth not the cud, and is unclean to you. Of their flesh you shall not eat, nor touch the carcass. They are abominable to you. And these you may eat of all that are in the waters, every one that hath fins and scales in the seas, and the rivers, and of anything that is in the sea that crawleth shall be an abomination to you. And an abomination shall their jelly and their sauce be to you. Of their flesh you shall not eat, and their carcass you shall have an abhorrence, and from the use of them you must keep aloof. Every one that hath fins nor scales in the waters, every one that hath not fins nor scales in the waters shall be an abomination to you. These are the kinds of birds must be abominated, those not a finger long, and that have no fiscal, or whose crop, Kirkaban, in glaves, peeleth not away, are not to be eaten. They are abomination: the eagle, the black eagle, or the osprey, and the kite, and the vulture after his kind, and every raven after his kind, and the ostrich, and the night raven, and the gull, and the hawk after his kind, and the snatcher of fish from the sea, and the ibis, and the bastard, and the cockatoo, and the waterpecker, and the white stork, and the black, after his kind, and the woodcock, and the bat, and every flying reptile that goeth upon four, the fly species, the wasp or hornet species, and the bee species shall be an abomination to you. Nevertheless, of honey of the bee you may eat. So also of these you may eat, of every flying reptile that goeth upon four, every one that hath joints above his feet to leap wherewith upon the ground. Of these kinds of them you may eat, the wingless locust after his kind, and the board locust after his kind, the serpent killer after his kind, and the kazeba, which is the palmer worm, after his kind. After the flying reptiles which have 4 feet are to be an abomination to you, and by them you would be defiled. Whosoever touches their carcass shall be unclean until evening. Whoever carrieth any of their carcass must wash his clothes and be unclean until evening. All cattle which divide the hoof, but are not cloven-footed, nor throw up the cud, are to be unclean to you. Any one who touches them shall be unclean. Every one that goeth upon his paws of all animals that walk upon 4 shall be unclean to you. Whoever touches their carcass shall be unclean. until evening. Whoever beareth their carcass shall wash his clothes and be unclean until evening. Unclean they are to you. And these also to you are such as defile the blood, the skin, and the flesh of every reptile that creepeth upon the ground, the weasel, the mouse, black, red, white, and the toad after his kind, and the sucking serpent, and the chameleon, and the lizard, and the snail, and the salamander. These 8 kinds are unclean to you among the reptiles. Whoever toucheth them, their skin or their blood, shall be unclean until evening. And whatever upon which any part of their body dead may fall, as their members when separated from them, shall be unclean. Every vessel of wood or garment or leather or sack, anything in which work is done. In 4 measures of water it shall be dipped, and be unclean for use until evening, when it shall be purified. And any earthen vessel into which any of them may fall, any vessel in which they may be, shall be unclean and be broken. All food for eating upon it, such water cometh, shall be unclean. And any fluid which is used for drinking in any such vessel shall be unclean. And anything upon which a part of their carcass may fall shall be unclean, whether ovens or pans, they shall be broken. They are defiled and shall be unclean to you. Jerusalem, the ovens and pans shall be broken. But foundations and crimsons, the place of the collection of running water, shall be clean. But he who touches the carcass of any of these things that may have fallen into the water shall be unclean. And if any part of their carcass fall in the way upon seed that is to be sown, that which is sown dry shall be clean. But if the carcass of any of them fall upon water that is put upon the seed, when it wetted, the seed is unclean to you. And if the limb of any clean beast that you may eat be torn, and it die, whosoever touches the carcass shall be unclean until the evening. And who eateth of its carcass shall wash his clothes, and be unclean until evening. And he who carrieth its carcass shall wash his clothes, and be unclean until evening. And every reptile that creepeth on the ground is an abomination, it shall not be eaten. And whatever goeth into its belly, and whatever animal crawleth upon 4, from the serpent unto the caterpillar, which hath many feet, and a reptile that creepeth upon the ground, you may not eat, for they are an abomination. Jerusalem, whatsoever writhers upon its belly among all animals. Ye shall not contaminate your souls by any reptile that creepeth, nor defile yourselves with them, lest by them you make yourselves unclean. For I am the Lord your God. Therefore sanctify yourselves and be holy, for I am holy. And defile not your souls by any reptile that creepeth on the ground. For I am the Lord who brought you up free from the land of Mizraim, that I may be a God to you, and you may be holy, for I am holy. This is the decree and the law concerning beasts and birds, and every living animal that creepeth upon the ground, for making distinction between the unclean and the clean, between the animal whose flesh may be eaten, and the animal whose flesh may not be eaten.